Is this year a small Mercedes EQS or a budget EQS? This year is the all-new Smart 3, a compact or small electric vehicle. Everything about here is Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with a front that looks Mercedes alike. And why is that? Yes, there are Mercedes folks working on that vehicle. Smart is now shared by Mercedes and Geely, and that's why you have that Mercedes part, this Mercedes influence, but at the same time the Geely influence, where you have the siblings of the Volvo EX30 or the Zeekr X. And there has been the Smart 1 that is a little bit shorter, and this one here now, the Smart 3, the longer, and also this coupe shape version. We have it here in the Brabus trim, that's the all-wheel drive trim, and it's already sporty. Look at that here in the lower part where the red shines through the black foreground. It's pretty cool actually. The light strip goes all the way through, LED from start and matrix LED then as an option. The length at 4.40 meters, that's 13 centimeters longer than the Smart 1. By the way, this hashtag thing, yes, they really call their cars hashtag 1 and hashtag 3. I usually make it a little bit simpler and just call them 3 and 1. Because, you also told me that, when you have this hashtag thing and then a number, usually you say like Smart number 3 or Smart number 1. Yeah, I mean, this hashtag thing is their marketing thing, but I just keep it with Smart 3. That's more simple, right? The side profile is indeed EQS alike, so definitely here the Mercedes design. And lengthwise, if you think about the Mercedes models, this would be more or less equal to a Mercedes EQA. The Mercedes EQB would be a little bit longer. Here the wheels are either 19-inch or with the Brabus version 20-inch. That looks definitely cooler. We'll also see later on about the ride. And once again, the Brabus version has accentuations and more Brabus badges. The Smart 3 is 8 centimeters or 3.5 inches lower than the Smart 1. You especially see it here in the rear where it's more in this condensed coupe style. Then the light strip again goes all the way through. Brabus version has the red accentuations and even more Brabus badges at the rear. Talking about the acceleration figure, Brabus is always all-wheel drive. That means one electric motor in the rear, plus one at the front. 3.7 seconds in the acceleration figure, so more or less a hot electric hatch actually. And if you go for a rear-wheel drive version, that's 5.8 seconds in the acceleration. There will later on also be an all-wheel drive version, which is not the Brabus one, to fill that gap in between. Turning indicators here in the front, actually pretty cool, replacing the daytime running light. Turning indicators in the rear, integrated right here, is actually also visible and pretty cool, isn't it? Better fitting to my auto today is here this white vehicle. I wanted to show you that as a contrast. If you do not go for the Brabus version, this one here looks a little bit less sporty. These 19-inch wheels are in that styling also a little bit, let's say, matter of preference. What do you think? Here, once again, the shape is of course the same. Our main vehicle was black with a red contrast. Here, other way around, red with the black contrast. As for the battery sizes, net figures, 47 kilowatt hours net for the small version, the Pro. All other versions, Pro Plus, the Pulse, the Premium, and here the Brabus get a 62 kilowatt hours net battery. Not too big, however, they focus on being like the city SUV, maybe secondary vehicle, or if you take it as a primary vehicle for the longer trips, you maybe get something else, I don't know. We'll later talk about the real-world range when we do the concise driving efficiency test. As for recharging, it's actually quite decent. The small battery, 7.4 kilowatt AC and 130 kilowatt DC. However, here the bigger battery, which we also have in the Brabus, that is at 22 kilowatt AC, that's decent, and 150 DC peak. However, in both cases, fast charging in optimum conditions is less than 30 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. Does it frunk or not? Yes, it does. It's a small one. Oh, ain't that cute? Here, for example, just with a tire fit kit, it would house a small cable, maybe. It's interesting here. They have a round key fob and feels actually quite cool. So unusual, but why not? And then when you open here, like this, there's also this real three-dimensional indentation on there. And you see completely flush then when you close the vehicle. What do you think? And they also give you this feedback here. Then we have frameless doors right here and door closing sound. It's actually quite cool. So that's rare for frameless doors, that the door closing sound is good. Then interior here, the red, wrap tight, red contrast, nice structure on the inside, galvanized window levers. And this really looks pretty much like Mercedes, doesn't it? Here in the lower part, however, all hard pack, and also here on the inside is hard pack. So when you have like a case or put the key in here, it's sliding all over the place. So that's why you would actually use felt on the inside. Steering wheel here in the Brabus styling. Then we have microfiber all around. That's pretty cool. Red contour stitches on the inside, real buttons at the steering wheel, and the quality here also is actually pretty nice. Driving selection is here, P, and put in like this for a drive. I think it's an easy selection. Digital instruments, quite easy and nice to read. However, here with the driving modes, that I think, yeah, you have to like that. So this is when you switch the driving modes like Eco, Comfort, Sport, and Brabus. Yeah, pretty loud sound, and this visualization, for me, a little bit too much. Or do you like that? And the higher trims also include a head-up display. Panoramic roof, super wide, a fixed one, however, no shade. There, for example, the Smart 1 does have a shade you can apply. Then about the seats, in the Pro Plus version, get leather red seats. The Premium and the Pulse always have an animal share. Brabus here comes with a microfiber on the inside, and also interesting details here, these knobs, or how we can call them, I don't know. So it looks kind of cool, but you sometimes feel them when sitting on it, and you could also maybe look at it, hey, is there a fly on my seat or something? So I'm not sure yet. What do you think? So on the one hand, I found them cool. On the other hand, irritating. I have to make up my mind about that. Here the Smart 3, by the way, gets also in this Brabus version here the integrated head restraints. That's pretty nice. Then here with the stitching on the head restraint. And also if you look at the floor mats, they pay attention to details. Look at that. This high floor on this one. And then you have these, the structure on the inside. Headroom. Yeah, plenty of headroom left. Look at that here. With 189 or 602, no problem at all. It's also interesting here, this matte middle console. So what they did here is they used a spray that contains metal that was coated here on this foil. So that gives this special metal-alike effect. And also here the quality, when we open these ones, for example, here, listen to that. This is really Mercedes-alike, if not better actually. So good build quality. Here's inductive charging pad, 2 USB-C chargers, and overall this look here with the 3 turbine vents. Anyone? Mercedes AMG GT in the previous generation? Yeah, there you can see that the Mercedes interior designer could play a little bit. Then we have this opening right here for the cup holders. These are also adaptive. And then there's this armrest. You can, it's also a soft touch on the top part, well attached. And underneath there's even a cooling function. There's a nice ambient lighting integration, by the way, here, then also inside the air vents and also here. And you can also individualize the colors. So I said they pay attention to details. And also here, maybe even more than Mercedes. Look at that, the seatbelt holder. Fabric covering here on the one side, even on the other side, that it doesn't scratch along here, that it's soft and doesn't make any noise and so on. Well done. However, what could be improved here, this lower middle console storage. This is hard pack, and you can see here, prone to scratches. This would need a felt covering that also things don't fly around while driving. Interesting also this knee pad here. So here at the inside part, it's soft. The top part then is a little bit harder, and that actually works then when you put your knee right here, then it hits the soft part. So here in the Smart 3, because of the seating position that is lower and a little bit more stretched, it works with the knee for tall adults. And with the Smart 1 actually, because it's a little bit higher, it's a little bit more condensed, there my knee would be like here when I'm driving, and then I'm kind of above the knee pad. So, but here in the Smart 3 it works. And now Leah is showing us the features there in the top. So first of all, the lights, they work with touch like this. It's also more from the Beats sound system. And then you have for sunglasses the storage on top, also with a nice clicking sound. Click. And then we have the, ooh, that's cool. And the sun visors are also with illumination. There we go. Interior cockpit overview. I feel it looks like a Mercedes sports car, doesn't it? What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Here with the central form right there, then the turbine air vents, AMG GT style, soft touch here, leatherette on the top part, and 12.8 inch the screen. Lower part are some hashtag capacitive BS hotkey buttons, but at least you have them. Here, for example, that's the one where I switch through the driving modes, and this one next to it is where you can, for example, activate the rocket launch, that's the launch control, and also change the recuperation level. And you have a good overview here from this infotainment system. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay is available now, also wireless. It will be rolled out to all customers that already have the vehicles very soon. And you can see this integration really wide using all the screen. That's actually pretty cool. The mirrors are being adjusted Tesla-alike then here at the steering wheel. And the climate unit is here in the lower part. It always stays at that position at least. And the vent strength is adjusted here. This leopard is this avatar that is following you all the way in the screen. And here you can activate the heat at the steering wheel. And here these micro rubber seats are also available with seat cooling. So while I appreciate that they have simple trim levels and not many options, there's one flaw to it. Because when you, for example, say, hey, I want the Pro Plus trim with a high-grade leatherette, then you cannot get the heat pump. Heat pump only for the Premium, Brabus and the Pulse. Rear seats, first of all, the doors here, also with a soft touch leatherette in the top part, just hardback in the lower part. Window in the rear goes down like this, by the way, always interesting to see. Then you have more legroom in the rear, even with tall Ls. In the Smart 1, there's just tiny space left, but still works. This one here easily works with 5 tall Ls, also here on the middle seat. Of course, the outer seats are more comfortable. Overall, I found the seating comfort. The seats are kind of sporty and stiff, but overall still very good in the comfort, both front and in the rear, and headroom in the rear is also no problem at all. Interesting detail, by the way, here these lights, these ones you can really physically press in and to, activate or deactivate them. It's a very cool solution and also a good premium quality, I feel. As for the trunk or for the boot, here comes our most successful reel or short content. I hope you're already tuned into our YouTube Shorts channel, Thomas Let's Go. I'll link it in the video description and the pinned comment. See you also there. But now to the content here, because the trunk or boot opening is here hidden inside the A of the Smart logo. There we go. When I press it, then it opens. Pretty cool. 370 liters, these are, you can see it fits with a decent luggage size. Just here this cover, I mean, that's the way it is closed, but when you have it opened like this part is super long, so you cannot push it down yet. Just push it up, and then I get it out. It's 1 meter or 40 inches in width approximately, and the length here is about 83 centimeters or 33 inches. And when you have put everything out, then actually you can use this cover. Look at that here at the sides. You can fold down like this, but then again you're missing length here, so not ideal. Underneath there is space for a charging cable, for example. Here also in the Smart styling. And you can also fold the seats. You could also do it from here. Fold these ones up, push it through like this and that. There we go. Complete length, around 160 meters or 62 inches to the front seats. And here we can also very well see how the Smart 3 trunk still has some more space left in front of the suitcase. Whereas in the Smart 1, there's just a little space left in front of that suitcase. All right, Brabus mode and rocket launch activation. Let's go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Plop. That was already 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. Just 2 days ago, we were riding a roller coaster together, one of the fastest ones in Europe. And I can tell you, this was a similar reaction on the roller coaster. There was also with that race start with a 3-1-2 go. That was really interesting, right? Because first of all, I thought like, wait a minute, I activate the race start, is nothing happening? Because sometimes you have this build up from like artificial sound and so on. But here it was this now. Yeah, why not? Definitely super quick. So, you always have rear-wheel drive when you have a rear-wheel drive version, all-wheel drive. the front electric motor is usually in normal modes on demand, but when you're in a sporty or the Brabus mode, then it's already engaged, then you can get the best acceleration out of that vehicle. Otherwise, it takes a second. For example, when I'm here in the like a comfort or in the eco mode, and when I would then hit the throttle quickly, then it takes just a split of a second that the front electric motor is also being activated. So yeah, you have to decide then if it's more this eco approach you're driving or if it's the sportier approach you want. But that works very well. 20-inch wheels at the moment, the road is pretty even. That means we also have good comfort. Pretty tight in the seats, but it's actually also good comfort. So I feel they serve sporty and comfortable purposes. Steering wheel has a good feeling, or the steering itself, fine adjustment. It also changes according to the mode. For example, in the Brabus mode, it gets then stiffer when you have it on that auto setting. However, you can also adjust it in the menu that you, for example, always want a light steering or a medium or a heavy steering. So that's good that you can actually choose that. Choosing it while driving is maybe not the most clever idea because it is somewhat distracting, but you can set it once and then it's actually fine. Or here, when you leave it on auto, then again it switches according to the driving mode. Suspension does not change. It's not an adaptive suspension, so it does not get stiffer or softer depending on the driving mode. But overall, I think they found a good setup here. In the Brabus, of course, everything is tuned to this sportier approach. You know, that Brabus used to be started as this only tuning company for Mercedes, then evolved. Then Brabus had this cooperation with Smart already pretty early. It was already for two versions, for example, and now they're working together even closer than, especially like with this branding all over the place and so on. Here, 120 kilometers an hour, like 70 miles an hour. It's actually good as for the wind noise and so on, so it's decently silent. It feels like a premium ride indeed. Here I feel a little bit longer wheelbase than the Smart 1 also helps to make it a little bit more settled on the road. The Smart 1 has a little bit more movement, which is a little bit too hectic, I feel. So the Smart 3 definitely here with a tuned setup. I also talked to the CEOs of Europe and Germany from Smart, and they said here with the 3, they tuned it even more to be more likable as for the whole suspension setup. And I also have to applaud them for that they really take customer feedback and also feedback from the journalist, and they really listen and then act accordingly. It's a funny story, by the way, that one of the first Smart customers here from the new Smart generations is Dieter Zetsche, the former CEO of Daimler or Mercedes. And he actually said, for example, hey, like the attention assist is too loud and it's reacting too early and so on. And then they changed it accordingly, taking his customer feedback. It's also a quite funny story, isn't it? So here on the motorway, it's really behaving very well. It feels kind of engaging, at the same time good comfort. And indeed, I've just been driving the Smart 1 and then switched to the Smart 3. And everything from the assistance systems and the beeping sounds and so on, it was really annoying in the Smart 1. They fixed that now in the Smart 3, so here, way calmer experience. Here also the assistance systems. At the moment, active cruise control or the active lane keeping assist is activated. So you can see here, it's keeping the car in the lane in a quite smooth way. So on the motorway, I think it was a little bit too loud when we are above 80 kilometers an hour or like above 50 miles an hour or something like that, then I feel the wind noises are really picking up. In the Zeekr X and the Volvo EX30 it was the same, but there, especially from the side mirror, here I think it's a little bit better as for the side mirror, but it's not the calmest car at high speeds. At low speeds it's actually absolutely fine. And now we're going for some windy corners, have some more fun driving modes, go once again to the Brabus mode, that we have good acceleration and so on. And the steering feel once again is pretty cool, really precise and direct. The suspension together with the 20-inch wheels is somewhat stiff, so it means for sporty driving it's pretty cool. So just when it gets bumpy, you feel it's rough and you feel a lot of movement, so it's not the best on the passenger, I would say. But it's actually really a lot of fun here. Wow. So the car is doing that very well. Of course, I always have a rear wheel bias, even if I have an all-wheel drive model here. and it's accelerating out very well. As for recuperation, different modes are available. So here you start in standard. This is already quite strong. So even the standard mode is not at all about rolling. There is a notable recuperation, and here on strong, it's even stronger when I lift my foot off the throttle. And then you can even go to E-pedal. Okay.
Yeah, 5 seconds.
Thank you. And now I can confirm, really? Why? So when I then lift my foot off throttle, it's defo one pedal driving. So here then, no brake pedal at all needed, just in emergency situations. I always feel that some rolling effect is better on the passenger, especially unless you're really tuning it very finely with the throttle. But even if I really just slightly lift the throttle, there is really strong braking already from the regenerative braking. So since the standard mode is already quite strong in the recuperation, I would rather recommend to go with the standard, but yeah, you can tune that to your liking. Here really tight corners, but it's also not a long vehicle, and smooth and seamless acceleration out then here. Wow, that's pretty cool. So I like the overall setup. The Volvo, being a little bit smaller, felt more hot hatch-alike. So I wouldn't exactly say that I have the purest hot hatch feeling there. I had it in the Volvo EX30. Here it's a little bit more balanced. You feel more like in a more grown-up vehicle if you compare it to the Volvo. So I feel if you could compare now Volvo EX30, Zeekr X, and the Smart 1 and Smart 3 in driving, the EX30 feels best in the sporty driving. As for suspension setup, Smart 1 more similar to that because it's shorter. Smart 3 feels most elaborate in the driving, because here also in comparison to the Zeekr X, here the assistance system and so on, they've done a better job there. It's working, it's just working, everything. The Zeekr X, they need to tweak the software things a little bit more. So yeah, that's what I would take from driving all of these siblings, that the Smart 3 feels most elaborated from the whole thing, and also user interface. That's the worst in the Volvo, by the way, user interface. Here I have head-up display, I have instruments, I can pick which one I want to look at. That's actually fine. I don't have any of that in the Volvo. However, I have that one in the Zeekr again. Then the Zeekr X is the best in the interior quality. It looks like a luxury vehicle from the interior, and also all animal-free. The Volvo, at least, all leather-free. Here in the Smart, they need to upgrade that because they still have a lot of animal skin choices or parts in the vehicle. But driving-wise, does it very well. So here also, when the roads are very even, 20-inch wheels and the stiff suspension, they do help. Beautiful roads here on Majorca. I love that island. They have so many beautiful spots, especially in the northern part of the island. So it's not only, like this party, the Germans say the Ballermann, where they have a lot of party and beer and everything. You get the picture. But it's also beautiful landscape spots here, especially in the northern area, and great also for car driving or for cycling actually. Yeah. So really liked it from the sporty aspect, but the question is, when we drove everything, motorway, 120, 130 kilometers an hour, like 70, 80 miles an hour, and also here winding corners, uphill, then we go downhill again, also some city driving, everything together. What about the fuel economy and the real world range? Fuel economy, energy economy. Oh, cheap. And our final consumption test. So note that on the motorway, at around 120 kilometers an hour, 70 miles an hour, consumption went up to about 23 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometer. So that's less than 3 miles per kilowatt hour. However, the overall, with everything city, mountain up, mountain down, we also had some nice recuperation here. So 8 kilowatt hours recuperation, 31 kilowatt hours total consumption, so you can deduct that from that. It's actually pretty decent. And everything together, around 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That's a little bit over 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Means for this, the bigger battery here in the Brabus version, or in the other versions, except the very small one here, around 320 kilometers of real-world range. That's around 200 miles. As I said, it's not meant for long distance journeys, more for city, mid-distance and so on. Then again, you don't need so much raw materials. So it always depends on the use case, of course. Which one do you find best of all these siblings? Smart 3 or Smart 1 or the Volvo EX30 or the Zeekr X?